their temperament and Weltanschauung. At a time when things are in the saddle and riding mankind as never before. When the tensions of fear, anxiety, and estrangement are devastating the minds of modern men and women. The fact that ordinary people through enlightenment can discover meaning and joy in life, as well as a sense of their own uniqueness and solidarity with all existence, surely spells hope for human beings everywhere. The experiences. 1. Mr. K. Y. A Japanese executive, age 47. November 27, 1953. Dear Nakagawa-roshi, thank you for the happy day I spent at your monastery. You remember the discussion which arose about self-realization centering around that American. At that time I hardly imagined that in a few days I would be reporting to you my own experience. The day after I called on you I was riding home on the train with my wife. I was reading a book on Zen by Sun O, who, you may recall, was a master of Soto Zen living in Sendai during the Genroku period. 17.3. As the train was nearing a Funa station I ran across this line. I came to realize clearly that mind is no other than mountains and rivers and the great wide earth, the sun and the moon and the stars. 14. I had read this before, but this time it impressed itself upon me so vividly that I was startled. I said to myself, after 7 or 8 years of Zazen I have finally perceived the essence of this statement, and couldn't suppress the tears that began to well up. Somewhat ashamed to find myself crying among the crowd, I averted my face and dabbed at my eyes with my handkerchief. Meanwhile the train had arrived at Kamakura station and my wife and I got off. On the way home I said to her, in my present exhilarated frame of mind I could rise to the greatest heights. Laughingly she replied, then where would I be? All the while I kept repeating that quotation to myself. It so happened that that day my younger brother and his wife were staying at my home. And I told them about my visit to your monastery and about that American who had come to Japan again only to attain enlightenment. In short, I told them all the stories you had told me, and it was after 11:30 before I went to bed. At midnight I abruptly awakened. At first my mind was foggy, then suddenly that quotation flashed into my consciousness. I came to realize clearly that mind is no other than mountains, rivers, and the great wide earth, the sun and the moon and the stars. And I repeated it. Then all at once I was struck as though by lightning, and the next instant heaven and earth crumbled and disappeared. Instantaneously, like surging waves, a tremendous delight welled up in me, a veritable hurricane of delight, as I laughed loudly and wildly. Ha, 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 ha. There's no reasoning here, no reasoning at all. Ha, ha, ha. The empty sky split in two, then opened its enormous mouth and began to laugh uproariously. Ha, ha, ha. Later one of the members of my family told me that my laughter had sounded inhuman. I was now lying on my back. Suddenly I sat up and struck the bed 15 with all my might and beat the floor with my feet, as if trying to smash it, all the while laughing riotously. My wife and youngest son, sleeping near me, were now awake and frightened. Covering my mouth with her hand, my wife exclaimed, "What's the matter with you? What's the matter with you?" But I wasn't aware of this until told about it afterwards. My son told me later he thought I had gone mad. I've come to enlightenment. Shakyamuni and the patriarchs haven't deceived me. They haven't deceived me. 16 I remember crying out. When I calmed down I apologized to the rest of the family, who had come downstairs frightened by the commotion. Prostrating myself before the photograph of Kannon you had given me, the Diamond Sutra, and my volume of the book written by Nakagawa-roshi, I lit a stick of incense and did zazen until it was consumed half an hour later, though it seemed only 2 or 3 minutes had elapsed. Even now my skin is quivering as I write. That morning I went to see Nakagawa-roshi and tried to describe to him my experience of the sudden disintegration of heaven and earth. I am overjoyed, I am overjoyed. I kept repeating, striking my thigh with vigor. Tears came which I couldn't stop. I tried to relate to him the experience of that night, but my mouth trembled and words wouldn't form themselves. In the end I just put my face in his lap. Patting me on the back he said, "Well, well, it is rare indeed to experience to such a wonderful degree. It is termed attainment of the emptiness of mind. You are to be congratulated." "Thanks to you," I murmured, and again wept for joy. Repeatedly. I told him I must continue to apply myself energetically to Zazen. He was kind enough to give me detailed advice on how to pursue my practice in the future, after which he again whispered in my ear, "My congratulations," and escorted me to the foot of the mountain by flashlight. Although 24 hours have elapsed, I still feel the aftermath of that earthquake. My entire body is still shaking. I spent all of today laughing and weeping by myself. I am writing to report my experience in the hope that it will be of value to your monks, and because Yasutani-Roshi urged me to. Please remember me to that American. Tell him that even I, who am unworthy and lacking in spirit, can grasp such a wonderful experience when time matures. I would like to talk with you at length about many things, but we'll have to wait for another time. P.S. That American was asking us whether it is possible for him to attain enlightenment in 1 week of sesshin. Tell him this for me. Don't say days, weeks, years, or even lifetimes. Don't say millions or billions of kalpa. Tell him to vow to attain enlightenment though it take the infinite, the boundless, the incalculable future. Midnight of the 28th. These diary entries were made during the next 2 days. Awoke thinking it 3 or 4 a.m. But clock said it was only 12:03 a.m. Totally at peace, at peace, at peace. Feel numb throughout body, yet hands and feet jumped for joy for almost half an hour. A.m. supremely free, 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 free. Should I be so happy? There is no common person. Point 17. The big clock chimes. Not the clock but mind chimes. The universe itself chimes. There is neither mind nor universe. Dong, dong, dong. I've totally disappeared. Buddha is transcending the law of cause and effect, controlled by the law of cause and effect. 18. Such thoughts have gone from my mind. Oh, you laughed, didn't you? This laughter is the sound of your plunging into the world. The substance of mind. This is now luminously clear to me. My concentration in Zazen has sharpened and deepened. Midnight of the 29th. I am at peace, at peace, at peace. Is this tremendous freedom of mind the great cessation 19 described by the ancients? Whoever might question it would surely have to admit that this freedom is extraordinary. If it isn't absolute freedom or the great cessation, what is it? 4 a.m. of the 29th. Ding, dong. The clock chimed. This alone is. This alone is. There's no reasoning here. Surely the world has changed. With awakening. But in what way? The ancients said the enlightened mind is comparable to a fish swimming. That's exactly how it is. There's no stagnation. I feel no hindrance. Everything flows smoothly, freely. Everything goes naturally. This limitless freedom is beyond all expression. What a wonderful world! Dogen, the great teacher of Buddhism, said. Zen is the wide, all-encompassing gate of compassion. I am grateful, so grateful. 2. Mr. P. K. An American ex-businessman, age 46. Diary extracts. New York, April 1, 1953. Belly aching all week. Doc says ulcers are getting worse, allergies kicking up too, can't sleep without drugs, so miserable, wish I had the guts to end it all. April 2, 1953. Attended S. Zen lecture today. As usual, could make little sense out of it. Why do I go on with these lectures? Can I ever get Satora listening to philosophic explanations of prajna and karuna too, and why isn't a and all the rest of that? What the hell is Satora anyway? Even after 4 of S. books and dozens of his lectures, still don't know. I must be awfully stupid, but I know this: Zen philosophy isn't ridding me of my pain or restlessness or that damn nothing feeling. Only last week a close friend complained. You're forever spouting Zen philosophy, but you've hardly become more serene or considerate since you've begun studying it. If anything, it's made you supercilious and condescending. June 1, 1953. Talked with K. about Zen and Japan until 2 this morning, like S. He's Japanese and he practiced Zen, but they have little else in common. Before meeting K, I imagined that people with Satora all functioned like S. Now I see Satora's not so simple, it apparently has many facets and levels. Why am I hung up on Satora? Pelted K. all night with. If I go to Japan and train in Zen, can you assure me I'll be able to find some meaning in life? Will I absolutely get rid of my ulcers and allergies and sleeplessness? My 2 years of attending Zen lectures in New York have neither mitigated my constant frustration nor, if I'm to believe my friends, lessened my intellectual conceit. K. kept repeating. Zen's not philosophy, it's a healthy way to live. If you really want to learn Buddhism in Japan and not just talk about it, your whole life will be transformed. It won't be easy, but you can rely on this. Once you enter upon the Buddha's way with sincerity and zeal, bodhisattvas will spring up everywhere to help you. But you must have courage and faith, and you must make up your mind to realize the liberating power of your Buddha nature no matter how much pain and sacrifice it entails. This is the transfusion of courage I've needed. September 3, 1953. Quit business, sold apartment furniture and car, friends unanimous judgment. You're mad throwing up 10,000 a year for pie in the sky? Maybe. Or maybe they're the mad ones. Piling up possessions and ulcers and heart disease. I suspect some of them may even envy me. If I didn't need to, I wouldn't be doing it, of this I'm positive, but I am frightened a little. Hope it's true about life at 40, bought ticket for Japan. Tokyo, October 6, 1953. How the features and mood of Japan have changed in 7 years. The ghastly rubble and despairing faces have virtually disappeared. Good to be back, this time as a seeker instead of a carpetbagger with the occupation. Wonder what really brought me back. Was it the dignity of the Japanese, their patient endurance in the face of their untold sufferings that I marveled at? Was it the unearthly silence of Engaku Monastery and the deep peace it engendered within me whenever I strolled through its gardens or beneath its giant cryptomerias? November 1, 1953. In Kyoto almost a month now, P. The American professor whom I'd met at one of S. lectures in New York, is teaching the history of philosophy at a Japanese university. He and I have already called on 5 or 6 Zen teachers and authorities. Talk. Some of these Zen men are curiously verbose for teaching that boasts of mind-to-mind transmission and an abhorrence of concepts. Professor M., when I reminded him of this, said, "In the beginning you have to utilize concepts to get rid of concepts. That sounds like fighting fire with oil, feeling restless again." All of yesterday toured the curio shops buying art objects. Is this what I returned to Japan for? November 2, 1953. Letter arrived today from Nakagawa-roshi, master of Ryotaka Monastery, saying yes, P. And I could spend 2 days there. Will such a trip prove productive? Not if S. and the Zen professors in Kyoto are right. Zen monasteries are too traditional and authoritarian for modern intellectually minded people. Anyway, it'll be a novel experience to converse with the Roshi in English and may turn out a pleasant holiday. P. wife piled us up with heavy blankets and lots of American groceries. Her Japanese friend says Zen monasteries are notoriously cold and austere. What does one do in a monastery anyway? November 3, 1953. Arrived at monastery at dusk, during 6.5-hour train trip P. And I busied ourselves framing questions to test the Roshi's philosophical knowledge of Zen. If he has an intellectual grasp of Zen, we decided, and is not just an old-fashioned religious fanatic, we'll stay the full 2 days, otherwise let's leave tomorrow. Nakagawa-roshi received us in his simple, unpretentious quarters. How young-looking he is. So unlike the bearded patriarch of our imaginings, and so cordial and affable. He personally made us hot whipped green tea, delicious and soothing, and even joked with us in surprisingly good English. Your long train journey must have tired you. Would you like to lie down and rest? No, we're a little tired, but if you don't mind, we've prepared a number of questions on Zen we'd like to ask you. If you don't care to rest, the attendant will take you to the main hall where you can sit and meditate until I dispose of some urgent business. Afterwards we can talk if you like. But we've never meditated in our lives, we wouldn't know how to sit cross-legged. You may sit any way you like, but you must not talk. The monk attendant will provide you with sitting.